You and Johnny. You're down in Stillwater.
と言われています。これはイスラエルの空港から
You can't sit forward, please. Facing forward, thank you. That's what I like.
This thing just moved. The door just moved. Are you real? You can do it again. I won't watch.
Make a wish, make a wish, make a wish.
And many more.
Right. Whoa! Jackie. All right, here, honey. The girl's got to have a present. This is from me. Yeah.
Do you know?
Yeah. You check. Because it's past. Shut up. No way. What? That is not worked. That is not worked. Just heard his voice one more time.
This girl was in the restroom when she begins to hear an exorcism next door. User Sarah from Colombia captured a horrifying video of what a real exorcism looks like. In the video I said, right, here's the unsettling screams of a girl next door. They first assume this is a case of violence, but as police arrive, things begin to take a dark turn, as they themselves assist in the exorcism. Sarah posted an update that our priest performed the exorcism after a girl began to show inexplicable signs. These after playing with a Ouija board. A woman named Lexi woke up from a nightmare, only to find out followed her into reality.
I don't know if you guys know, I've never had a dream like this before. And then what happened after is just fucking, I'm about to fucking puke. So anyways, we were laughing, haha, everything's fine. I got good vibes, and all of a sudden, they all look at me, and they're just lifeless. Like they're like, there's like at least like 30 people in the room, okay? And they all look at me, and they're like this. And I got the most sick feeling. And all of a sudden, for some reason, I was wearing this cross in my dream. I go like this, and I start to grip my cross. And I'm just like, and then the person that I was talking to, he goes, "Why are you doing that?" And he was just like, "Why are you scared?" And then this is where I knew it was demonic. Just basically saying that God doesn't exist. He was like, "What do you think he's gonna do for you? Like, you think God even exists? You think he's gonna," and then it was gonna tell me at the end that God doesn't exist. And I just fucking, I've never like been able to grip this cross in my dream, and I just backed up, and then I started praying to God, and then I felt myself being lifted up, like lifted, and everything just disappeared. It happened right after, and then I fucking woke up. So anyways, I was like, oh my God, like I've never had such a spiritual dream like that. And I went in the kitchen because I was so fucking terrified, and I just said, I rebuke anything in the name of Jesus that is not meant to be in this house. I rebuke anything. Right after I said that, I heard 3 knocks on my front door, and I looked outside. Nobody was fucking there. It was late, okay? It was fucking late. And so after that, I was like, oh my fucking God. Like, whatever I casted out of my house was like, it got cast out. And like,
if you see another person that looks identical to you, run away and hide.
Now, come on, man. Oh, I'm not fucking playing. Oh my God, what the fuck is that? Oh, there's nobody in this fucking store, dude. It's freaking me out, bro.
hell? Oh. Everything's on, I don't understand. Hello? Hello? What the? Oh gosh. I don't understand. Everything's on. Oh. It's on the drive as well, really. Mom! Dad! Oh, no. What the hell's going on? Really? God's sake. Is it the red one? Maybe. Oh, whoa. Mom, Dad! What the hell? I'm not a fan of the dark at the best of times. Let alone when it's not gonna come on. For goodness sake, Mom!
The entrance to the secret cave that goes into Disneyland. Now, if this works and it actually does go into Disneyland, I have an annual pass, so I'm not trying to steal the mission. Here goes. It's kind of short. I think I made it. I think I made it. 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 I am in Disneyland. It works. The cave is real.
This is the true story of Freddy Krueger. Frederick Charles Krueger was born in the city of Springwood, Ohio in 1942, product of an abuse. His mother, Amanda Krueger, was a nun who worked in an old psychiatric hospital. On Christmas Day in 1941, the hospital was closed to celebrate the holidays, but they did not realize that Amanda had been locked up with hundreds of maniacs. She was abused by a group of patients, resulting in a pregnancy. A few months later, Frederick was born, who was given up for adoption. A man named Edward Underwood adopted him. This man was an alcoholic and abusive person who marked Freddy's childhood by torturing him. When Freddy turned 16, he ended his life using a knife. From that moment on, he grew up and tried to have a normal life, having a wife and a daughter. But the traumas of the past tormented him. The thirst for revenge and the satisfaction of taking lives began to run through Freddy's veins, and he began to take revenge on the young people of Springwood, ending hundreds of lives. Until one day, his wife found out about Freddy's second life. Upon seeing this, Freddy took his wife's life in front of their daughter. The people of Springwood found out and went looking for Freddy, ending his life after burning his house. This was the real-life Michael Myers. In the year 1922, a boy named Stanley Stiers was born in a hospital in the United States. Stanley came to his family by a mistake in the hospital, where 2 babies were switched at birth. When Stanley's parents noticed this, it was too late, because their real son had lost his life in a traffic accident with his other family. This fact made the parents behave in a hostile and abusive way with Stanley, since he was not their real son, which had a profound impact on his psychological development. Until one Halloween day in 1923, Stanley, tired of the mistreatment of his parents, committed a heinous act. He decided to take the life of his parents and his sister with a kitchen knife. After this crime, he was interned in a psychiatric hospital, but managed to escape 15 years later. And when he escaped, he continued taking the lives of dozens of people. This story is believed to have inspired John Carpenter, the director of Halloween. The figure of Myers reflects the dark history of Stiers and his legacy of terror. This is the real-life Chucky. This story inspired the directors of Child's Play. Robert the Doll is a famous haunted doll with a chilling history that dates back to the early 1900s. He was given to a young boy named Eugene Robert Otto by a family servant in Key West, Florida. Eugene quickly formed a deep bond with the doll, naming it after himself. The doll was life-sized and dressed in a sailor suit. As Gene grew older, the doll's behavior reportedly became more malicious. Neighbors and visitors reported seeing Robert move on his own, hear giggling sounds, and even witness him watching children from the windows. One night, Gene awoke to find Robert sitting at the foot of his bed, staring at him, which terrified him. Throughout his life, Gene continued to blame Robert for various misfortunes, claiming the doll was responsible for overturned furniture and other disturbances. After Gene's lost his life in 1974, Robert was donated to a museum, where he gained notoriety as one of the most haunted dolls in the world. Visitors often report feeling uneasy around him, and many have sent letters asking for forgiveness after encountering misfortune. Robert's legacy has even inspired horror films, solidifying his place in the realm of the supernatural. Did you know the disturbing story behind Friday the 13th? This is the true story behind Jason Voorhees. During one summer in 1960, 4 teenagers, 2 girls, and 2 boys went camping in the isolated Bodom Lake area. These young people were enjoying themselves at this camp until something tragic happened. On the night of June 5th, 1960, a carpenter stumbled upon the camp and discovered the brutal crime scene. 3 of the campers had lost their lives, but one of them, Niels Gustafsson, was found alive. He had multiple stab wounds and facial fractures. When police arrived, Niels claimed that someone had broken into their tent in the early hours of the morning and attacked them. But Gustafsson was initially ruled out as a suspect. The randomness of the attack meant that the police had little to work with. Strangest of all was Gustafsson's description of the attacker. He claimed to have seen a man dressed in black with glowing red eyes. Of course, this did not help the police in their investigation, and also the evidence at the crime scene was ruined by people casually walking over it. It seemed as if these unfortunate teenagers had encountered their own version of Jason Voorhees. This tragic event would have influenced Victor Miller, the director of Friday the 13th, to create this character in 1980. This is the truth behind the skinwalkers. Skinwalkers are creatures that can take the form of any of your closest loved ones, including your pets. These creatures can copy even the smallest detail, transforming themselves into an exact replica in order to gain your trust and go deep into your home and then take your life. These creatures are native to the Arizona desert. Their origin story goes back many centuries, where they were simply witches who practiced dark rituals with animals of the area, until one day a ritual got out of hand and cursed all its practitioners, giving them the ability to transform into whatever they wanted. But in exchange for this, they took their souls. Remember, you could be living with one of them. Look how this guy discovered that his dog was a skinwalker pointing a crucifix at him. His reaction is creepy.
This is the true story of Slender Man. This man kidnapped more than 9 young people. Back in the 1977, a man named Silvino Armstrong lived in Huntsville, Alabama. Silvino was known throughout the town for his remarkable stature, standing almost 10 feet tall. This man was a town celebrity, which made people love him, but no one knew his dark secret. In the summer of 1979, a group of 4 young men disappeared in mysterious circumstances after camping in a forest, but one of them managed to escape and report this fact to the police. This young man said that a very tall man wearing a suit and a white mask had kidnapped his friends. The police had begun an investigation in the forest, but could not find any traces, so they dismissed the case, calling it mass hysteria. But the citizens were dissatisfied with this decision. A decade later, with more than 9 young people missing, the citizens decided to rebuke Silvino. As it coincided with the appearance of the aggressor, the police decided to arrest Silvino, but was released for lack of evidence. No one ever spoke of the case. This story inspired the creation of the character, Slender Man.
This is the true story of Coraline. Neil Gaiman is the creator of the Coraline story, but he was inspired by a sad, real-life story. Back in the 1970s, Neil lived in his small hometown, Hampshire in the UK. In this place lived a family with his grandmother and his little daughter. Everything was normal until one day a tragic event happened.
The family's house burned down completely. The parents of the young girl lost their lives. But the grandmother decided to enter the house to save her granddaughter. After this fire, there began to be a lot of mystery in the city. Since the old woman did not let her granddaughter out of the house, rumors circulated saying that the young woman had burns on her face, and for this reason she did not go outside. Moved by this mystery, young Neil decided to enter the house of the old woman to see the young girl. One day, the old woman left her house. Neil saw this as an opportunity to enter the house with his friends to reveal the identity of the girl. But what they saw inside left them speechless. Inside the house, they found a small cradle, where the lifeless body of the girl was found. The strangest thing of all was that the girl had buttons in her eyes. Neil left the house with his friends and told what he saw to the whole town, and the old woman was sent to a psychiatric hospital.
This was the killer who drank human blood. This is the true story of Richard Chase, better known as the Vampire of Sacramento. He was born in 1950 in Sacramento, California. His childhood was marked by abuse and fights by his parents because they had strong problems with alcohol. Thanks to this, Richard was always a child considered weird and lonely. Until over the years, he would suffer an alarming transformation throughout his life. Due to his addiction to substances, this addiction led him to a state of extreme madness, leading him to become obsessed with the idea that his body was deteriorating and was slowly dying. Richard thought that the only way to avoid death was to consume fresh blood. Initially, he began only drinking the blood of animals, but soon began to feel that this was not enough, so he decided to experiment with something more powerful. Richard took the lives of an entire family in order to feed on their brains and drink their fresh blood to supposedly save his life. When the police finally found him in his apartment, they saw a macabre scene with human remains and blood all over the walls. Do you know the terrifying true story of Siren Head? One autumn evening in 1983, Mark Johnson and his group of friends went into the dense Yosemite forest in California to camp in search of adventure far from the city. As night fell, they gathered around the fire and shared stories of local legends. But Mark mentioned Siren Head, a creature that was said to stalk the forest, luring its victims with eerie sounds. Laughing nervously, they dismissed the story, but an eerie chill ran through the air. Suddenly, a distant siren echoed through the trees, sending shivers down their spines. They exchanged worried glances, and the laughter quickly faded. Ignoring their instincts, they decided to investigate. As they moved deeper into the forest, the siren grew louder, morphing into distorted voices shouting their names. Panic set in as they realized they were being chased. One by one, they disappeared into the shadows of the night, leaving Mark alone. When dawn broke, the camp remained eerily silent, and the only evidence of their presence was the haunting siren that continued to echo through the trees. Mark returned to town and recounted this fact, but no one believed him, and he was framed by the families of the missing people.
This is the true and terrifying story of Annabelle the doll. Back in the 1970s, a nursing student named Donna received a Raggedy Ann doll as a birthday present from her mother. But what they didn't know was that the doll had a dark secret. At first, everything was normal, but weeks later, they began to notice quite strange things that scared Donna and her roommate Angie. The doll appeared in different rooms and in positions in which they had not left it. And the creepiest were some notes that Angie and Donna found at home, with the words, "Help me." After these events, they decided to take the doll to a medium. This medium informed them that the doll was possessed by the spirit of a young girl who had lost her life on their property. Paranormal events continued to occur. So Annabella was taken to Ed and Lorraine Warren, who concluded that the doll was possessed by a demonic entity intent on possessing Donna and Angie, and not by the spirit of a person. To contain the evil, Annabelle was placed in a blessed glass box located in the Warren Museum. This is the true story of the doppelgangers. If you see someone identical to you, you are in grave danger. The doppelgangers represent your evil twin or a person who is exactly like you. Meet your doppelganger is an almost insurmountable test. If you ever cross with one, your fate is sealed, putting an end to your life. Although for your luck is very difficult to happen to you. But it is a latent danger, as it happened to Humbert I, King of Italy, at the beginning of the 20th century, who was having dinner in a restaurant when he noticed that the owner was very similar to him physically. But the coincidences did not go that far. They had the same name. They were born the same day in the same city. Their wives also shared the same name and they got married the same day, and an endless number of coincidences between both of them. The day after the meeting, both lost their lives. The owner of the restaurant would be killed after several accidental shootings in a hunt, and King Humberto in turn would be killed due to multiple shootings by an anarchist. And you? Have you ever met your doppelganger? If you make a deal with this man, it's over for you. This is the true story of the Charro Negro. Back in the year 1896 in New Mexico, a man named Abundio Rosas was walking home at night. Abundio felt that someone was chasing him, but out of fear he didn't look back, until he got brave and turned his head to see a big black horse with red shining eyes. A tall man dressed as a charro with a hat that covered his face was riding him. Abundio was scared and did not say a word, until the man extended his hand offering a bag full of gold. But Don Abundio decided not to accept. Even though the man insisted, he decided to leave. Abundio arrived home scared, telling his wife and daughter what happened. Days later, Abundio went out to look for the Charro Negro again, but never managed to see him again until months later. Walking along the same road, Abundio met the Charro Negro once more. This time, despite his fear, he received the bag with gold coins. With this money, Abundio bought a lot of land and a mansion, but in spite of this tragedy followed him. His daughter disappeared one night without a trace. The only thing that was heard in the town was the loud neighing of a horse. After this event, his wife lost her life due to the anguish of having lost her daughter. Abundio had lost his family because of this greedy treatment. This is the true story of Michael Myers, the man who terrorizes every year on Halloween. In 1922, a couple had a son named Stanley. While the baby was in the hospital, he was exchanged with another child that had been born at the same time. When the parents realized that the baby they were holding was not their son, it was too late, because their son had just lost his life tragically in a traffic accident with the other family. So the couple decided to adopt the baby of the deceased family and take him to their home, and named him Michael. Michael from a very early age showed strange and aggressive behaviors, but it was not until the night of October 31st, 1928, when at 6 years of age this child would do something unimaginable. While his parents slept, he took the life of his little sister with a knife, because he felt that they loved her more than him. After the tragedy happened, Michael was confined in a maximum security psychiatric center until he escaped on October 31st, 1942 at the age of 20, starting a massacre in New Jersey, using a mask to cover his face, thus inspiring the creation of the famous character. If you take candy from this man, it's over for you. This man took the lives of over 28 young men. This is the true story of the Candy Man. In 1939, Dean Arnold Corll was born in Fort Wayne, Indiana. His mother was very affectionate with him. His father was the opposite, living in abuse during his childhood. His mother, Mary Corll, decided to move to Houston Heights with Dean's stepfather, where they opened a candy store, where Dean worked from an early age. Dean grew up and was known in the community as a good boy who gave candy to youngsters, until 1964, when everything changed. Dean was drafted into the Army, expressing his disdain for the service. 10 months later, he asked for a discharge, arguing that he had to manage the family business. Dean returned to his apartment, which was just above the store, but he was no longer the same. His personality had completely changed. In 1967, Dean began to surround himself with young people because of his work in the store. Dean befriended David Brooks, a 12-year-old boy who would later help him in his crimes. In 1970, Dean had his first victim, beginning a long road of crime aided by David Brooks and another accomplice named Henley, to whom he gave $200 for helping them get victims to torture them and take their lives. In 1973, Henley brought two friends to Dean's apartment to commit his crimes. Henley was going to participate in the crime but refused, so he started a fight with Dean Corll, ending the Candyman's life with a gun. Then Henley and David decided to call the police and confess to Dean's crimes, and both were sentenced to life imprisonment. This woman is the reason why you should never go to Texas. This is the true story of La Lechuza. La Lechuza is a creature that roams the nights of Texas and the border areas of Mexico. Back in 1930, La Lechuza was a beautiful woman named Maria who lived in a small town in Mexico. This woman led a normal life, but fate took a cruel turn. A jealous neighbor, envious of Maria's beauty and happiness, whispered dark spells and cursed Maria, turning her into a monstrous hybrid, a 6-foot-tall creature with the body of an owl and the face of an old woman. Now La Lechuza seeks revenge. regardless of whether it takes children, men, or women. La Lechuza imitates the sound of a crying baby to lure its victims at night when they approach it is too late for them. La Lechuza takes them to its cave, where they remain trapped and its soul feeds its insatiable hunger. Some believe she is a witch. Others believe she serves the devil. The reality is that she is just a victim seeking revenge. Now you know if you see La Lechuza, you only have one option. Pray and ask for mercy. If you see this man in your backseat, it's over for you. This is the story of the in the backseat. Back in 1980 in Miami, Florida, a woman named Ariana had just finished her evening workday. When she got into her car, she felt a strange sensation as if someone was watching her. She decided to ignore this to drive home. On the way, she realized that a car was following her closely at high speed. The other vehicle appears to be aggressive, flashing their headlights and tailgating her. In a panic, she speeds up, trying to lose her pursuer. Eventually, she arrives home and quickly exits her car, only to discover that the driver who had been following her is a good Samaritan. He rushes to her aid, explaining that he was trying to warn her about the danger lurking in her back seat. As the woman turns to look, she realizes that there is indeed someone hiding there, a creepy man sitting on his back seat, who had planned to attack her. The story ends with the implication that had it not been for the stranger's intervention, she might have been a victim. These three kids are pure evil. In 1966, in Atlanta, Georgia, there were three evil boys. Their names were Caleb, Alex, and Walter Mellon. The townspeople nicknamed them the Little Satans, because from the age of 5, the Little Satans began to show a very disturbing and cruel side, often capturing small animals in the town's woods. The other kids in town were terrified and stayed away from the Little Satans. The parents of these three kids just thought it was envy of the other parents or just a childhood thing. Most of the town kept quiet because they didn't want any trouble with this influential and wealthy family. But the evilness of the Little Satans was increasing, until one day a kid from the town disappeared, and the last time he was seen he was with the Little Satans. Due to the few evidences, the local police could not make a deep investigation. But an officer named Mark Russell did not give up, and decided to investigate further, where he discovered a secret door in the back garden of the house of the Little Satans. When he opened it, he found a macabre scene. The missing boy was tied up and caged with all his clothes torn, and wounds all over his body.
I could obviously only pick 5 out of hundreds of new sightings, but these are some that I found to be the most creepy. So, let's just start off the list. In this video, a few guys are hanging out inside of a house to do a challenge video.
Are we going?
Challenge.
At some point outside, they spot something at the edge of a forest.
I heard something.
Do you have a flashlight?
Hey! Not with me.
I bet it's a deer, dude. It's a spotlight.
Upon further investigation, it appears to be a clown. A clown in Denver has been following people home as they walk from their cars after work. A person who witnessed the clown said the following. I was getting off of work. It was around 9:30 p.m. and I parked my car on the street. As I got out of my car, I saw someone standing there in a clown costume. I thought it was just a kid in a costume at first, but this clown started following me. Every time I would stop and turn around, it would stop too and just stare at me. Good thing I was not too far from my front door because I took off running as fast as I could. Every time I would stop and turn around, it would stop too and just stare at me. Good thing I was not too far from my front door because I took off running as fast as I could. I unlocked my door and ran inside. When I looked out of the window, it was just standing there waving at me. Only a few days ago, a video surfaced on Twitter showing a clown hiding in the woods near Marion County Road.